Have you ever noticed how some men collapse the moment life applies pressure, while others remain steady, no matter how violent the storm becomes? This difference has nothing to do with intelligence, education, or luck. It is rooted in perspective. Ancient Stoic philosophy reveals that weakness often announces itself through language. There are specific expressions that expose an unstable inner world, phrases that quietly drain authority, discipline, and self-command. They sound harmless, but they erode a man from the inside. If even one of these phrases shows up in your daily speech, it is not just a habit. It is a signal that you are unconsciously giving away your strength. Today, those signals are brought into the light and replaced with principles that build resilience instead of fragility. If you are prepared to abandon shallow thinking and cultivate a mind that cannot be shaken by circumstance, commit now. This is where the shift begins. The earliest indicator of an undisciplined man is his refusal to claim responsibility. When trouble appears, the untrained mind immediately looks for something outside itself to blame. The market is unfair, leadership is corrupt, other people are difficult, life is rigged. By assigning fault outward, he constructs an identity as a victim of forces beyond his control. In doing so, he quietly admits something dangerous, that his well-being depends on conditions he cannot command. His peace becomes hostage to people, systems, and events that owe him nothing. This mindset is not just passive, it is surrender. The moment a man declares that the world is responsible for his state of mind, he hands authority over his life to chance and strangers. He becomes reactive instead of deliberate, emotional instead of grounded. Stoic philosophy dismantles this illusion completely. Epictetus taught that life is divided into two realms, what belongs to us and what never will. The undisciplined man obsesses over external outcomes and ignores his inner world. The disciplined man reverses this approach. He releases attachment to what he cannot govern and invests fully in what he can refine: judgment, action, and response. Picture two ship captains facing the same violent sea. One rages at the sky, curses the wind, and wastes his strength arguing with nature itself. In his anger, he loosens his grip on the wheel to protest the storm. The other captain remains silent. He does not plead, complain, or demand fairness from the ocean. He understands that the storm is indifferent. It will not negotiate. So he adjusts his sails, he tightens his hold, he does the only thing that matters. When a man says, "This is not my fault," he is shouting at the wind. He is announcing that he feels powerless. A Stoic recognizes a sharper truth. While circumstances may arrive uninvited, responsibility for response is never outsourced. Blame preserves immaturity. Ownership creates agency. A man who waits for perfect conditions will wait forever. A man who accepts responsibility, even for chaos he did not create, steps into control. As long as fingers are pointed outward, hands remain unavailable to build solutions. One of the most corrosive beliefs a man can adopt is the idea that others control his emotions. Statements like, "He made me angry," suggest that the mind is an unlocked door, and anyone can walk in and rearrange the furniture. This belief reduces a man to a puppet, pulled by the behavior of strangers. In this state, mood rises and falls based on traffic, comments, disrespect, or inconvenience. There is no inner refuge, no mental stronghold. Seneca warned that anger is not power, but a failure of reason, a brief collapse of self-rule. When someone claims another person caused their emotional reaction, they are admitting that discipline is absent where it matters most. Imagine walking through a crowded street when someone crashes into you with force. Instinct flares, muscles tense. The urge to retaliate appears instantly. Then you notice the person cannot see and moves with a cane. The anger dissolves in seconds, replaced by understanding. Nothing about the collision changed, only interpretation shifted. This reveals something critical. The event itself never held emotional authority. Judgment did. The untrained mind reacts instantly to appearances. The trained mind inserts a pause. An insult is harmless unless accepted. Like a stone thrown at a cliff, it only causes damage if the surface is weak. Anyone who can provoke you can steer you. Guard that gate. Another sign of a fragmented mind is the habit of postponing life. Happiness is delayed until a promotion arrives, a purchase is made, or some future milestone is reached. The present becomes nothing more than an obstacle course leading to an imagined destination. This creates constant dissatisfaction because peace is always scheduled for later. By chaining fulfillment to outcomes that may never occur, the man guarantees unrest in the only moment that exists. Marcus Aurelius, who possessed power, wealth, and status beyond imagination, trained himself daily to anchor meaning in present duty. He reminded himself that the future is uncertain fog, and the past is only memory. Reality lives only now. There is an old story of a businessman who encounters a fisherman resting beside his boat, enjoying the day with his family. The businessman insists the fisherman should work harder, expand operations, build an empire, and grow endlessly. When asked what all that effort would lead to, the answer is simple: freedom, rest, and time with loved ones. The fisherman smiles, already living what the businessman is chasing. The undisciplined man exhausts himself, running toward a horizon that retreats with every step. He delays joy, presence, and meaning until time has stolen the ability to enjoy them. The Stoic understands that life does not begin later. It is happening now, whether you are awake to it or not. Stoic philosophy does not reject ambition. What it rejects is obsession. It teaches disciplined effort without emotional dependence on outcomes. A man who cannot tolerate himself in his current state will not suddenly find peace through wealth, status, or success. External gains do not heal internal disorder. They only amplify it. Waiting for life to begin after some imagined achievement is a quiet form of self-denial. There is a certain complaint that reveals entitlement disguised as innocence. When hardship arrives through loss, illness, or disruption, the untrained mind interprets it as a personal attack. It asks why suffering chose him. It argues with reality, labeling difficulty as unfair or undeserved. This mental resistance does not remove pain, it multiplies it. Pain is unavoidable. Prolonged misery is created by refusal to accept what already is. Stoicism introduces a radical shift in perception known as loving one's fate. This does not mean passive tolerance, it means full acceptance and intelligent use of whatever appears. Obstacles are no longer seen as interruptions, but as the very terrain required for growth. Imagine an athlete preparing for competition. Training against weak opponents produces comfort, not strength. Real development only happens when resistance is overwhelming. When faced with a superior challenger, the body strains, the lungs burn, and limits are exposed. The immature man interprets this as cruelty. The disciplined man recognizes intention. Difficulty is not punishment, it is instruction. Life applies pressure for the same reason training does, to refine capability. Complaining about adversity is the same as rejecting preparation while still wanting the results. A life designed for comfort alone deteriorates quickly. Ease weakens character. Marcus Aurelius expressed gratitude for challenges because they revealed whether virtue was real or imagined. Pressure does not destroy substance, it exposes it. Some men collapse under resistance, others become more formidable because of it. Replace the question of victimhood with curiosity. Ask what this moment is demanding that you develop. Growth halts the instant a man believes he already understands everything. The phrase that signals intellectual stagnation is the insistence that nothing new can be learned. Ego disguises itself as certainty. Instead of listening to comprehend, the foolish mind listens only to respond. New ideas are treated as threats rather than tools. Rigidity replaces adaptability, and rigidity always breaks under force. Epictetus removed arrogant students from his teaching because pride prevents learning. A mind convinced of its own completeness has no space left for improvement. There is a story often told of a teacher offering tea to a visitor seeking insight. As the cup fills, the teacher continues pouring until it overflows. When the visitor protests, the teacher explains that a mind already full cannot receive anything more. This lesson crosses cultures because it describes a universal truth. Wisdom requires emptiness before it can be filled. The undisciplined man clings to his assumptions as if admitting error would diminish him. The Stoic does the opposite. He accepts temporary embarrassment in exchange for long-term clarity. He questions himself. He corrects course. He understands that intelligence begins with recognizing how much remains unknown. Another revealing statement is the claim of constant busyness. The untrained man treats exhaustion as evidence of importance. Activity becomes a substitute for direction. Motion replaces meaning. Yet lack of time is rarely real. It is a declaration of misplaced values. Hours vanish into trivial distractions, while essential practices are postponed indefinitely. Seneca observed that people fiercely protect their possessions while allowing their time to be stolen without resistance. They argue over nothing, consume entertainment without intention, and surrender years to obligations they resent. Life is not short by nature. It feels short when wasted. Imagine receiving a daily allowance of seconds that cannot be saved or recovered. Whatever is unused disappears permanently. No rational person would treat that resource carelessly, yet this is exactly how most people handle their days. Attention leaks away through distraction. Focus dissolves into noise. The difference between the disciplined man and the foolish one is not opportunity. It is awareness. One spends life deliberately, the other lets it evaporate. A disciplined man understands that time is the only resource that never replenishes. Money can return, status can be rebuilt, strength can be regained. Time disappears without negotiation. Because of this, he becomes selective. He removes distractions without remorse. He declines many decent options, so that his energy is reserved for what actually matters. When someone claims they are too busy to grow, to reflect, or to strengthen themselves, what they are really doing is refusing maintenance while expecting performance. No machine survives that neglect, neither does a man. Do not reach the final chapter of your life only to realize you were constantly occupied, yet never truly present. Endless activity is not proof of purpose. It is often an escape from it. Another invisible cage is built the moment a man begins living for spectators who are not invested in his life. He pursues approval instead of alignment. He accumulates objects to signal value. He stretches resources to appear impressive, all of it driven by fear of being judged. His real thoughts are filtered, his natural instincts are restrained, not because they are wrong, but because he is desperate to be accepted. This is quiet submission. A life governed by outside opinion is no longer self-directed. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this contradiction with confusion. Men claim to value themselves, yet consistently rank the voices of others above their own judgment. It is a strange trade to abandon inner authority for applause. Picture a performer on stage who constantly checks the audience for reaction. He forgets the script. He misses his cues. He stumbles through the scene. Excellence requires immersion. Craft collapses the moment attention shifts toward approval. Mastery demands focus on execution, not reception. The undisciplined man adjusts his identity to match whatever earns acceptance. The Stoic refuses this exchange. He measures himself by internal standards. Integrity outweighs popularity. Reputation is noise. Character is substance. One exists in rumors, the other exists in action. The moment approval becomes the goal, vulnerability is created. Anyone can destabilize you with a comment. Freedom begins when external judgment loses authority. Release the need to be liked. Let others misunderstand. Your responsibility is not to perform for consensus. It is to live deliberately. The patterns described throughout this message are not random habits. They are structural limits men impose on themselves, deflecting responsibility, surrendering emotional control, delaying fulfillment, resisting reality, pretending to know everything, squandering attention, obsessing over opinion. Together, these behaviors form a confinement system that feels normal because it is familiar. But it was never locked. This philosophy is not about numbing emotion or becoming cold. It is about eliminating mental weakness. It sharpens perception. It restores agency. It demands courage instead of comfort. Pay attention the next time these phrases attempt to surface. Interrupt them. Replace them with accountability, awareness, and deliberate action. If this message sharpened your thinking, do not keep it to yourself. Support the spread by engaging with the video and subscribe if your goal is to command your inner world while others remain reactive. The direction forward is clear. What happens next is entirely up to you.